DegloireSpace signing in. We've all heard the sayings, you reap what you sow. What goes around comes around. Karma has no menu. You get what you deserve. And we see this to be true in some cases where we see somebody who does something bad, something happens to them, and we feel like, yeah, they deserve it. But there are times where we see people, something happens to them, and we think, what? That person was good. And then you'll hear sayings like, only the good die young. Good men are seldom rich. Or, an interesting one is, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. Now, of course, when we put all these in our lives, and sometimes, when we start wondering, do my actions carry bad karma? How do I know what I'm doing is right? How do I know that what I'm going to do, I'm not going to suffer some bad karma? So you're tiptoeing around things. You don't want to break anyone's heart. You want to be careful with people. You even want to help people. And then as you're helping people, something happens. What you're trying to do good returns bad. Someone you do good to treats you badly. A friend you try to help turns on you. And then it gets trickier. Sometimes we do something that we're not too proud of, and years later it turns out to be in our favor. Or we do something that gets us into trouble, and it comes out well. I remember I got into trouble when I was a kid. I got called to the principal's office, and there was another troublemaker there. We ended up becoming good friends. While sometimes the opposite, you do something that you think is right, and then years down the track, that thing that was right brings out something bad. Example, fall in love with a girl, you do things well as you know, and years later you get your heart broke. Does that sound confusing? It does, but it actually is not, if we tweak some of our understanding towards it. And I find here what we need to do is to say, to every action that you will do, some good will result from it, some bad will result from it. It doesn't matter how good your intentions are, it doesn't matter how clean your actions are. Hey, according to the story of Jesus, apparently he was trying to help people. He was curing people, preaching a loving word. What did he get in return? We all know the story. So what we need to do is here, change that understanding. Just know that every action that you do brings about a lot from it. There's good and there's bad. Think of it like fertile soil. You grow your fruit, but wheat comes out of it as well. If you're someone who's driven by ideals and you want to try to be right, you want to try to do right, you always think about the consequences of your actions. You think, hey, if I do this, what could come out of it? And here I'm not referring to if you're a criminal and thinking about the consequences of your actions. I'm just talking about normal everyday things like helping people, accepting someone's help, building a project, entering or exiting relationships, etc. It's always been a dilemma to humans. What is a good action? A Taoist parable that I really love. An old farmer had a horse, and his horse ran away. The neighbors heard, and they said, "That's such terrible news. What bad luck." And the farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, the horse came back, and with it he brought a bunch of wild horses. So now the farmer has a lot more horses. When the neighbors saw this, they were like, "Wow, that's amazing news. What good luck." And the farmer said, "Maybe." The farmer's son was trying to tame one of the wild horses. And as he was trying, he fell off the horse and broke his leg. The neighbors heard about it, and they said, "What terrible luck. That's terrible news." And the farmer said, "Maybe." A few days later, soldiers came in. They were drafting young men to go to war. And the son was at that age, but his leg was broken, so they couldn't take him. When the neighbors heard, they said, "That's amazing. What good news." And the farmer says, "Maybe." Focus in on this story. It kind of tells you that you really don't know the outcome of actions. You don't know what the outcome of some things that are seemingly good return bad, and some things that are seemingly bad return good. So what to do? Whenever you come to an action or a decision that you can help to make such a decision, Do your due diligence. Unfortunately, not all of our actions or things that happen to us can await a decision, because there's a lot of things that happen in a moment. You know, there are things that affect us our whole life, where we're walking past and we say one word to somebody, one word, and that sticks with you forever. Sometimes somebody says something to you and forever you don't forget that scene, and it affects your whole life. But the ones that you can do the work in, do it. Try to enter situations with as most conviction as you possibly can. Leave no room for you to say, I wasn't present when this happened or when I took that decision. And notice the difference here. I used the word present, not convinced. Because let's face it, there's many things in life that we might have done not truly convinced. I would say try to minimize those things where you have a choice. But the thing is, even those things that you did not totally convinced, sometimes the outcome is good. But still, I would say minimize those where possible. The reason is, even if good comes out of those, a lot of times we don't reap the full benefit of the good, but they're unavoidable. I mean, sometimes in life you get two choices and you want neither, but you take one. So here we need to change our mindset towards life, in the sense that life can't be conquered, and so it remains new. And because it's new, you got to try to keep yourself fresh with it. Think of it like you're a sailor in the ocean. Try to know your vessel as best as you can. Know the signs of the weather. Know the techniques of sailing. But even with all that, you never really know what the ocean will throw at you. So our starting point will be, whatever you're going to do, make sure you have the biggest conviction that you can possibly have towards this. Even if you have two choices that you don't want to make, go for the one that sounds a bit more appealing to you, that you have a slight more gut feeling towards it. That way, whatever comes from it, you're not divided about the result. And when I say divided here, I mean inside you. You're kind of like, look, I was present and I gave it its energy. That way, if good comes from it, you can claim it. And if bad comes from it, you can take responsibility. You don't need to blame anyone. And therefore, you'll be able to accept it a lot more. Nothing worse than wasting years of your life blaming someone else for something that's happened. And there's nothing you can do about it no more. When you enter a specific lifestyle or choose a specific lifestyle, there's going to be pros and cons from it. I hate to tell you this, but you have to lose something going into that lifestyle, but you'll also gain something from it. What's important is make sure overall it agrees with you. The worst thing you can do is stick to something that you deeply disagree with. I wish I could just say to you, do what you're convinced with and all will be well. What I can say to you is, maybe, more likely, I would place my bets on that. But nothing is for sure. You might marry the woman of your dreams and then a few years later, divorce, heartbreaks. So somewhere in your mind, make room that nothing is 100% for sure. That's part of the journey. And you know what? Hate to tell you this, but that's what makes life exciting. Anyone who says to you they have exact answers to life is lying to you. It's very different when you're watching from the outside and when you're involved in it. It's your adventure. Be involved in it. DegloireSpace signing out.